What is up, everybody? This is Jeff Needs Sports. I'm Jeff. My guest tonight. There's no reason for me to drag out the introduction. At this point, it's just my partner. You know what I mean? Like it is. I got Mo Murphy with me. I got to be on his show last week. We did the post weekend wrap up. And then tonight we're gonna do the college football like colossal Saturday preview. Everybody's been waiting for this, all year. So I got Mo Murphy with me tonight. Everybody, thanks for listening. Thanks for joining in. Thanks all the likes. We really appreciate it. And also, do the same for Coach Mo Murphy show. It's taken off like a rocket. Everything's going good, and I'm lucky enough to keep having him on the show. And we're going to chop it up and talk about we already know it's a good college football season. This is a great college football weekend. This is what we live for. This is what me and Mo talk about in the off season. This is what we talk about all winter. And this is what makes people keep coming back. So Mo, thanks for coming on tonight. I appreciate it. And you're about to tell us why the Ohio State Buckeyes are on upset alert this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, first off, it's great to be here. And I just want to say this colossal Saturday only matters because we have a 12-team playoff now, Jeff. I got to throw that out there. Like people that could play, and you and me always.
I would say I don't want to take full credit for the 12-team playoff, but I take a lot of it.
But if we can, we always take a shot at the people that were opposed to this 12-team playoff. But we'll talk about the first game that kicks off the day as far as it only matters because there's a 12-team playoff now. But Ohio State being on upset alert, Jeff, it's insane to me. Like Saturday night, the Saturday night ends. If you're one of those, like I'm trying to catch the bets early or whatever, or you just pay attention to it, like Ohio State opens up, the game line Saturday night, early Sunday morning, minus 13.5. Jeff, they're only just barely over a touchdown favorite right now at minus 7.5. Now, that tells you, like when Vegas does that switch, then that tells you everybody immediately jumped on Washington plus 13.5. And I really feel like it's just, people aren't buying in yet. I mean, they beat Texas, but people aren't all in on Texas. Ohio State hasn't played anybody since then. This is a Washington team on the road. And now the propaganda has started to convince you, like, Jeff, it's Wednesday, and I've seen more Washington on national media than I ever have. And it's because they play Ohio State this Saturday. And so they're undefeated right now. They haven't really played anybody either, but they're undefeated right now. And so they're selling, a lot of college football guys also think that Washington should be ranked. And so, like, while saying all that, like, there's guys like a guy like Josh Pate is pitching like they're undefeated. They got this quarterback. They should at least be ranked. I'm not saying they should be a top 10 team or anything, but Washington should be ranked. So this starts the whole, like, the propaganda for it to end the way nobody wants it to end on Saturday night. Jeff, I think this game is set up for Ohio State to win by 3 touchdowns. I'm telling you, if we were favored by 3 touchdowns, I'd be nervous. I promise you I would. But being favored by 7, 7.5, 6.5, when you look at a book, whatever it may be, like you told Ohio State they were on upset alert on Sunday. Like, and I'm not saying, but you gave them the bulletin board material that people really think that Washington has a shot. And what's going to happen, Jeff, is this is very similar to what was this like 3 years ago when CJ Stroud was the quarterback for Ohio State. We went into this huge matchup on the road against Michigan State. What was it at halftime, Jeff? 42-0. I'm not saying this is going to be one of those 42-0 situations, but what I'm saying is this is set up for Ohio State has everything to lose and nothing to gain. If Ohio State wins this game, it's just another win in their books. Nobody's going to give Ohio State the type of credit, even though they built up Washington all week to have everybody convinced that Washington has an opportunity to upset Ohio State. And when Ohio State goes out there and does what Ohio State does, which is win the game by like 3 touchdowns, it's going to be all of a sudden like it's not that Ohio State is better than we thought. We can't give them that kind of credit. Washington's just not as good as we thought. We overhyped the Washington. What do we expect from a team in the Pacific Northwest that, they hosted Ohio State and we tried to hype up this matchup to have Ohio State have a game that matches this type of Saturday. And when Ohio State takes care of business, all these other big games are going to happen. Everybody's going to care about the recap of all these huge games, that people are going to forget about the fact that people picked against Ohio State prior to the game. There's analysts already saying I'm taking Washington. There's people saying I'm going to take Washington with the points. I think Ohio State wins, but it's a close one. So nobody will have to eat their words, because at the end of Saturday night, when they're prepping for their show on Sunday or Monday or whatever it may be, they know that they get to wake up and talk about all the games that we're going to talk about for the rest of the show that we hit on. All those games are going to be talking points in these other media conversations before it's for us, Jeff. And Ohio State is going to go out there and handle business. Like,
I like where you're at.
Julian saying, like, is that the only reason why we're 6.5? Because you don't trust Julian saying in this situation?
I think there's a few things. I think having the bye week added to it, and again, everybody, we're talking about like the perception and point spread here. I think the bye week had into, because Washington got to play and they got to, show off a little bit against, Washington State for what it's worth. Ohio State didn't play. So you have a week, it's college football. You forget about stuff in a week. It is the truth of it. So like the freshest thing in your mind is like, and again, I'm guilty of it. The last thing we remember is like, I don't know, Ohio State looked a little clunky against Ohio. And they did. It doesn't change what Ohio State's team is, but the perception is clunky. Mm-hmm. So you have all the people who the last thing they remember is people like me being disappointed at Ohio State's performance. And then the last thing they see is Washington looking great. And that Washington is a good team. I do think they should be ranked. I don't know. I'm not sitting there saying they should be ranked 10, but I do feel like
something 19.
Yeah, if they're a Big Ten team playing this good. But I also do believe that the mistake is that they're kind of poking the bear with Ohio State, and I think you said it best. Ohio State's had all week to be like, oh, we're you've made us the underdog artificially. And I'm sure that if you go into Washington's locker room, they're like, I wish everybody would shut up and quit talking about the crowd and quit talking about this. Now, am I curious what's going to happen with Julian Sain and this crazy environment, and if he makes a mistake and how he responds? Yeah, we really don't know. We know that he throws the ball really great. We know that his stats on the season are great, but because of the good play around him and really good offensive line play and all these things, that he hasn't, been beat up. He hasn't fumbled behind. He made a stupid mistake, all these things, and responded. So it's fair to say, how will he respond? Now, the same thing goes for Washington on the other side of the ball. This is how it always is, Mo. You know this. The other side of the ball, they're never it's always just a given that they're going to play as good as they did against Washington State and nothing's going to change, as if Ohio State's defense isn't going to be way better. Now, I'm sure this is one of those. If you talk to a Washington fan, they're probably like, whoo, we're worried. This has been, as a, avid gambler, I'll just be honest, one of the biggest point spread changes I've seen in a 2 or 3 day span in a long time. So I am just curious of what the experts saw, or if it's just all money, a landslide of money. What did move and money? Usually it's a couple points, not like you said, it's 4 or 5 points.
It changed the touchdown
without an injury or anything.
It completely changed the whole touchdown. But Jeff, you said something, and I want to hit on this point.
Let's do it.
When the hell did Washington University, and going into their environment, become the 12th man like they're the damn Seattle Seahawks or something? That's all I'm saying is okay, I get road games in college are tough, for sure. And some are tougher than others. But why are we acting like Julian Sain is on Saturday going into Ann Arbor? Why are people acting like he's going to play a road game in a whiteout at night against Penn State? He's going to Seattle, Washington at 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific time. So it's going to be 12.
That's a great point. It's 3. I hadn't even thought about that. That's the best point that you've made so far. It's only noon.
It's a noon. So we're not even talking about walking into this Washington night game environment. Okay, they did have a turnout crowd when they played Oregon, sure. But that wasn't nothing like a Texas or Ohio State or the team up north or Penn State or Oregon. That crowd doesn't touch any of that. And I didn't even start talking about the SEC crowds that we know are electric daytime, nighttime. It's tough to go into those places and play. We talk about how tough the Swamp is. The Florida Gators' only relevancy has been that these top-notch teams have to come into the Swamp, which is a tough place to play.
And that's when it's dark,
it's been relevant the past 10 years. Yeah, and when it's dark, because they don't win those type of games. They haven't been a team. They've never made the playoffs. This, that, and other. They live off of their environment. It's tough to play in. Washington has had they catch lightning in a bottle once every 5 to 6 years, and now all of a sudden, like we got to act like Ohio State has to conquer some mountain to climb of going on Washington on the road, like. Because we didn't score 40 points against Texas, it wasn't impressive enough. Like, and then they're like, well, Texas hasn't looked that good since. I know. And Ohio State's entire game plan was never to score 50 points. It was to just win. Because in the 12-team playoff era, it doesn't matter whether we beat Texas by 60 or beat Texas by 6.
Yeah,
we won the game. We're 1-0. We're now 3-0 going into this. But it's on the road against Washington. Like, when did we sign up to play the Seattle Seahawks? That's all I'm wondering. Is when did we decide to play the Seahawks? Yeah. Like, they acting like we're playing the Legion of Boom.
Cam Chancellor ain't walking out that tunnel. You know what,
man? That crowd is not. It's not the same as the Seattle Seahawks.
I had worked.
It is not number one in Seattle. It's the Seahawks. Ohio State, when you come into Columbus, why are these environments so tough? Because they're the thing in their city. They are in college towns. They are the thing to see. People go to more people go to Seattle Mariners games and Seattle Seahawks games than ever thinking about going to the Washington Huskies game. So no disrespect to Washington, because they are a very respectable program. They have
you definitely disrespected them several times just now.
But
it's fine.
Like, why is it that Ohio State has to be so nervous about going into
every
Washington?
game? It doesn't matter if they go to Iowa. It's Purdue. It's because
but
they're
maybe
Ohio
I
State.
eat my words, and the crowd shows up, and it shakes Julian saying to pieces, and Jeremiah Smith has a terrible game, and it rattles the defense, and Caleb Downs seems mentally out of it. Maybe all of that happens because, according to people, this is the type of environment that can make that happen. Or what happens is, like, what history tells you happens is every time you put Ohio State in these type of spots, they blow the doors off the teams. And then you walk away and say, I'm not impressed. I wasn't that impressive, even though I
compare this to the Oklahoma game at Oklahoma versus Baker Mayfield that everybody forgot about. But whatever. I compare this to that game as to where, like, hey, this could be closer, like this, and then Ohio State went in there and showed their, just flexed and showed their talent. And you're like, oh, that was different. This is how this one feels to me, of like, I'm working it up in my head. And then, like, there's a reason. Like, here's the thing. All these experts don't make all this money to be this wrong. So, like, I would be shocked if they're like, oh no, all of a sudden Washington, is the best team in the country, blah, blah, blah. Because I mean, I don't care. I think Ohio State's, the only reason I say Ohio State's overrated is just because they're young and upcoming, but I'm not saying they haven't earned their ranking. And now that we've watched the rest of the teams, nobody has.
Like, nobody's looked any more impressive.
No, I totally agree. But I'm saying, like, they also, like, just because I judge them versus a great Ohio State team, and I'm like, they're not there yet, but they're really good. But that being said, they're really, really good. So even the worst version of this team that I think there is, that doesn't mean that I think Washington's just as good. Like, I would be crazy to be, I'd be crazy to be like, oh, it's one of these two. Now, again, you said it. What we haven't seen under Ryan Day, and I'll just take all risk of jinxing it, we haven't seen the game to where he has pooped himself versus one of these teams, and we're like, what happened? Like Urban did. Now, Urban didn't lose a lot of games, but he lost about almost every game he lost, he shouldn't have. It was a complete collapse. Everything went wrong. They weren't ready for it, blah, blah, blah. Day hasn't really done that. Like, the closest is Oregon going to Ohio State, and Stroud just wasn't ready for the game. I don't really consider that like an upset. So, like, there's nothing for me to say, like, we have seen Ryan Day step up and beat really good teams when a lot of people doubted it, or if it was even. We've seen that. What we haven't seen is Ryan Day just collapse to a worse team. We really haven't seen him
defeated in these games. Like, he hasn't lost to an unranked team. Like, if you don't have a number next to you, like, history tells you, if you don't got a number next to you, we could say numbers don't matter, but like, once we put the numbers next to them, if you ain't got a number next to you, you're not beating Ryan Day in Ohio State. That's what the history has been. And I'm not saying that if you don't have a number next to you, you don't have an opportunity, and they average winning these games by 40-something points. But what I'm saying is, like, at the end of the day, Ryan Day has figured out how to not lose these games every time his number's been called to win these kind of games. And they put Ohio State in these type of games every year. They don't want to see Ohio State be the best team in the country. So, like, there's got to be a reason. Somebody's got to knock them off their high horse. All these other teams haven't looked necessarily up to par as far as we don't have a clear-cut best team in the country. But even then, like, the AP voters, as lazy as they are and as much as we can say about their rankings, the one thing that they damn near agreed on, though, was that the best team in the country is the team that didn't play. Like, they moved everybody around. Ohio State didn't play, and we say that plays, a factor into the gambling aspect and why the number could drop. But, like, the AP voters said, well, keep them number one. Nobody, while they weren't playing, I never turned on my TV and was more impressed by a team than I have been now, Ohio State up to this point.
And I will say too, though, that as far as the point spread, I don't think it's insane to say that, like, Washington can keep up. I do think Washington is a very good team. I don't judge a lot on that, but as far as the upset potential, I would hope, that they're past that. I don't see why. I'm always with you. Just because one young quarterback does things a different way and has a big splash and all that, I don't know why that's better than what Sane done, because he's just in a different offense. He's at a different
80%
level.
Completion percentage when he throws
Here's what I'll say.
plus yards down the field.
And this is what it reminds me of is the early Saban years. He just kept dragging a bunch of dudes out there and winning national championships because they didn't have to do crazy shit. They weren't getting beat up. You just do your job. And I'm not saying Sane's even average, but I'm saying, like, this reminds me of, like, the reason we haven't so far seen Sane have to be Cam Newton's because he just hasn't had to be. And he may never. Like, Greg McElroy won a national championship. So, like, you don't have to be. So I get it. I've seen what Washington's done. They're going to be good all year too. Like, I think, like, I'm not sitting here saying Washington's going to lose the next 6. Like, I do think they're a good team, but that doesn't mean that I think, so am I concerned? Of course, you're always concerned. Things can get crazy early. I mean, you throw all the factors into it. Now, do I think that Washington's good enough to take advantage if Ohio State plays a terrible game? I do think they're good enough to upset Ohio State if Ohio State does a bunch of dumb stuff, as to where, like, Ohio wasn't. Ohio was never going to beat Ohio State. As clunky as it was and as bad as it was, they still, like, Ohio State was going to eke that game out. Washington could take advantage of terrible game by Ohio State or bad mistakes and all that. I don't think it's so one-sided. But that being said, I got to respect what my eyeballs have seen. I will admit, though, that what I've seen Texas do since then has really concerned me until we get through this Washington game about Ohio State, only because Texas has looked so average. That does worry me. That's not Ohio State's fault. Ohio State just was like, we got to beat Texas, and they did it. But I guess the conversation, like, if I'm in Austin, is a whole different one. So once I get through this Washington game, I'll feel so much better, and then I'll kind of know the team that I have in front of me.
Yeah, and I guess that's all we're hoping. And the game has to be played.
That's the facts of it. You got to play the game.
I know we're Ohio State fans, and we didn't, spend a million years on Ohio State when they're like, when are we going to get to the rest of the schedule? Because I know the slate.
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. If you're tuning in, that's the biggest game of the weekend too. Again, because it's always Ohio State. It's always the biggest game of the weekend. It just is. I mean, that's just the facts. Like, they're the defending national champs. They're the most watched team. They're the most gone to team. Like, it's not like we're sitting here, like, we're not talking App State and being like, But you know what? Let's move on. You had 3 impact games on there. What's your next impact game?
Yeah, so my next impact game is one of the first one, like the first impact game that's being played of the day. To me, and that's LSU and Ole Miss. Now, there's some bigger games there's some huge games that are played before that, but of the 3, that's one of the ones. Like, everybody's paying attention to LSU versus Ole Miss. Let's be honest. I mean, LSU is number 4. Ole Miss is number 13. They're trotting out, this
and
young.
For 2 minutes, LSU was without a doubt. I mean,
the best team in the country.
There you go.
Yeah,
I just want to point that out, that for like 2 minutes, because
and that's why I say, because Clemson was supposed to be really good, and LSU's defense was so stifling, and then they stifled Florida, and so this LSU team is like, oh man, they're back to having this great defense, and we know what the type of quarterback Garrett Nussmeier is, which is that's still the case to me for LSU. And
here's what we know: LSU is every bit as good as Syracuse. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Like, we learned that, you know what I'm saying? They're at least as good as Syracuse. But like, this is the type of game now where your offense has kind of been struggling. Your defense has won you pretty much every game. You've leaned on your defense. Your defense has showed you they're one of the best defenses in the country. Period, point blank. I don't care about opponent. At the end of the day, you got to step out there and stop the team from scoring points. And you were able to do that for 3 games. And you did it against a Cade Klubnik. You had 5 interceptions against a DJ Lagway. Like, even if we don't think DJ Lagway is not that good, you're going to point to that LSU game as being the reason why you stop believing that DJ Lagway has any potential of being a good quarterback. Yeah. That's the game that well, you were all out on DJ Lagway. We was trying to trot with him with that USF game, and maybe he could get going. We blame the coach. He goes out there and throws 5 picks. You're like, everybody that's out on DJ Lagway going to point to that game. And so now LSU finally, I think to me, you're going to have to get your offense going because Ole Miss can score some points. Ole Miss going to put some points on the board. And so Garrett Nussmeier came into the season. Now, this list keeps getting smaller, Jeff, of all the elite quarterbacks coming into the season that were supposed to be elite that are now elite going into, what are we in? We're in week 5.
Week 5.
So week 5, week 6 of the season. And you're talking about like 5 of like the top 7 quarterbacks entering the season are now not even considered top 10 quarterbacks.
I was just getting ready to ask that. The separate question. I just got a sidebar real quick. How many, and I'll just say the simple, how many first round quarterbacks are left? 2026 first round quarterbacks. How many are left?
1 or 2, and that's still because you're just not all the way out on them yet. Like, they haven't given you a reason to be all the way out, but you're leaning towards like, if it's me, I'm not gonna lie. If looking at it as a Cowboys fan, if Dallas was talking about moving on from Dak this summer and this draft would not be the one where I want to hear.
Here's what I was told after the Clemson game. Nussmeier is without a doubt the most pro-ready player. All these knuckleheads on all these networks are like, oh, that's the guy. Like, what he's doing out there is special. 3 weeks later, they're like, there's no way that – I'm not saying he's not going to – like, I just want to point that out there. Like, I don't know, 2 days before the season starts, Arch Manning's like, should we tank for Arch Manning? Right now, he honestly doesn't look like through a month – he doesn't even look like an NFL quarterback.
He looked like he'd get drafted at the same spot as Quinn Ewers, like 6th round to the Miami.
He don't look near as good as Quinn Ewers.
No, but I'm just saying, like, he doesn't look. I mean, Quinn Ewers didn't look like a 6th round pick to me.
I know that was a weird side note, but just the whole Nussmeier thing kind of.
But that plays a part into
also,
quarterbacks.
But also being a State fan, you're watching Sane do what he does, and they're like, that don't matter. Being able to throw the ball and being accurate, that don't matter. Nussmeier, man.
Anyway, like I said, to me, this might be the game where scouts be back all in on Garrett Nussmeier and the noise gets louder, or this might be his game where, like, man, maybe he just ain't as good as we thought. This, that, and the other. And like, you're gonna have to score some points to beat Ole Miss. I'm sorry. Like, and you're going to have to score points.
And by the way, both these dork coaches, one of them needs to win this game. Like, they're both like, we're like, they've been telling us for years how great they are. Neither one of them have done it. Like, neither one of them have, got to the next level. Like, one of these coaches has to win this game, and whoever loses this game, it's like, oh, another one of these seasons. Like, I don't know how their season's going to wind up, but the instant reaction after this game is over is this coach basically dropped the ball again. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be doomsday because they're like, here we go, same old season. You're going to lose a couple of games, maybe make playoffs, maybe not. Like, whoever wins, it's going to be woo, especially if Kiffin. I think if Kiffin knocks off LSU, and like we said, was anointed the best team in the country a few weeks ago, I think that will boost. Now, here's my thing. I saw Ole Miss play in person, and I didn't see it. It just didn't jump off the page. I'm not saying they're not a good team, but when I was watching, I was never like, oh, this is a national championship team. So,
and that's what this game has an impact on is like, I say this is one of the 3 impact games because this directly has an impact instantly on the playoff race because Ole Miss is sitting at 13, LSU is sitting at 4. I get it. The AP poll and college football playoff have nothing to do with each other when it comes to rankings. I get that. And they start later in the season as far as showing those rankings. But right now, that's what we have to go by. And there's a team that's all the way in the playoff race, and there's a team that's the first team out in the playoff race. And if that team that's first team out wins, now you're in a predicament where probably both teams are playoff teams. Ole Miss takes a leap. LSU takes a couple knocks back. And if LSU wins, they remain. They have another good win. Now they finally have that win, because like the Clemson win is going to fade over time, as far as like it's already faded as far as valuing it for what it was at the time when they won. But like now, if you go and beat Ole Miss, even if you don't think Ole Miss is that good, I now beat Clemson, who's now went into oblivion. And then I turned around. Y'all said I wasn't. Maybe it was an overrated win. And now I beat a number 13 Ole Miss on the road, who looks really good offensively, who looks like I'm going to have to go tit for tat with as far as points go.
And this is a weird game too, and then we'll move on. It also matters. It's stupid. This is not just a win game, because if I think that LSU needs to win, but I think Ole Miss needs to look good. Like a 21-10 victory, I think you just be like, they weren't as good as we thought. I think LSU needs 32-28, and then it'd be like, wow, they can do it both ways. Ole Miss is great offense. Like, I really do think that that's going to matter a lot. It shouldn't, but it will matter a lot if they get into a shootout and can score, because they really haven't scored a lot of points. That's the thing about this LSU offense that's by far the best team in the country, allegedly. They just haven't scored a lot of points. And if they don't again, it'll still be like, it won't matter playoff time. I understand that because, like Mo said, 12-team play. But it will matter how whoever wins this game, how they win it. Or if Ole Miss, they can win any way possible. If they just beat LSU, like,
they just got to win. Like,
they just got to win. So
style points still matter, Jeff.
Like, they matter a little, but I think Ole Miss winning is style points.
Yeah. When you're the underdog, it's your style point. You just got to win the game. LSU got to win and look good.
Ole Miss, there you go. It has to look good.
It's a really good team. Like, if Ole Miss wins 6-3, Ole Miss is the really good team, and LSU is the overrated.
There you go.
Even though one team only scored 6, another team scored 3.
Exactly.
In the standard of what you got to do and what you got to look like in those 4 quarters of football is different. And then, Jeff, you know what the next impact game is. You might even agree with my little rant. The next impact game is, should James Franklin be fired at Penn State at the end of the season if he loses this game? That is the biggest question to me, because here's the thing, Jeff. Not James Franklin in Penn State. I just wanted to be thrown out there. And this is once again a disclaimer. Coach Mo might eat his words later on. Ohio State has to see Penn State. But I'm not talking about this matchup as far as what it'll look like for Ohio State later on. I'm talking about right now, coming into the season. You told me a whole lot of things. Not you, but people told me a whole lot of things. And what they told me coming into the season, some of the biggest storylines of college football coming into this season, Penn State is the best team in the Big Ten. Penn State is probably they should be favored over Ohio State to win the Big Ten and win the national championship. Yep. Drew Allar is the next Josh Allen. And this is the best team. This is the final point, that this is the best team that James Franklin has ever had at Penn State. Those words were uttered, repeated, and believed in. And so now you play Oregon. You play a guy, to me, and Dan Lanning, that's the next one of the next younger up-and-coming great coaches. He's got a great thing going at Oregon. Everybody's believing into the program. Obviously, he's backed up by the Brinks truck that's named Phil Knight as well. So he's at a university where he doesn't have to worry about money. Dan Lanning has it great. Now, has he won a national championship yet? No. Has he won a bunch of playoff games yet? No. But Dan Lanning is a lot younger in his Oregon career than James Franklin is at Penn State. And I'm going to tell you, if James Franklin and Penn State lose this game, I don't care if they lost on a game-winning field goal by Oregon. If they lose this game, James Franklin time at Penn State, if I'm a Penn State fan, I start wondering if I even there's got to be something else, because being 10-2 and losing to whoever the 2 best teams in my conference are every year and being that type of playoff team now and getting into the playoffs that way would really get old. James Franklin has won 3 of these games. Not only does he have a losing record in these type of games, his record is abysmal in these type of games, Jeff. He's been there for 12, 13 years, and he's won 4 of these games. He's won 4 of these type of games in his 13-year tenure at Penn State. And he might not even been there 13 years. That's just a number. I really don't know how long it was. But all the pressure is on James Franklin because this is the best team Penn State has ever had. Drew Allard is Josh Allen. They got a 1-2 punch, which I'd never take away from. They do have a 1-2 punch at Katron Allen and Nick Singleton over there at running back. Jeff, we've been talking about this duo for 5 years.
Here's the thing, man.
I mentioned this duo 5 years ago when we first started podcasting, that these two were power running backs at Penn State, and they're still there. And now, so everything is on Penn State to win this game. I really think, if you ask me, there's no pressure on Oregon and Dan Lanning. None.
And it's a whiteout. They got a team traveling across the country. That team just nipped them in the Big Ten championship game last year. Like, Penn State has every single advantage that they could have. And I do think it's time. Like, sometimes you just got to show up. If you're going to tell me, and again, I heard it too. Really, as soon as last season was over, they're like, oh, Penn State's the best team next year. Because, again,
literally,
I want to put out, and I'm not saying they're wrong or right, based on a quarterback that didn't complete a pass to a wide receiver in the last playoff game he played, they're like, as soon as he comes back, top pick, like, this guy's got it. And again, I honestly, like, I think Oregon's going to win because I watch Oregon. And here's how sometimes I judge sports. This is crazy, out of the box thinking. Sometimes I look and I'm like, man, they got a lot of good players out there. They're good. Then I watch the other team and I'm like, man, I don't know if they have quite as many good players as the other team. I'm just taking Oregon. Like, these dudes are they're just getting at it. It's no different. Now, I'm not saying Penn State can't win, but I'm saying Penn State has to win. Like, Penn State has to win this game. If not, here's what I would tell Penn State. If you ain't going to win this game, just stop with the whiteouts. Like, now you just look silly
because you're losing all of those games.
Because you're losing. If teams going to come there and beat you when you tell me you're going to have a whiteout, which I don't know, Penn State's one of the dorky.
Think about this too, Jeff.
I can't. Penn State's I think Penn State football to me is my equivalent of Duke basketball. Like, I just can't deal with y'all.
But listen to this about Penn State too, Jeff. And like you said, this is a revenge game for the Big Ten championship.
Yes.
But and I know Ohio State didn't get there. So saying what I'm about to say is like, well, Ohio State didn't get there. That team up north didn't get there. I get it. But one of the schools, if Oregon was going to get to the Big Ten championship, as long as it wasn't USC or UCLA or Washington that was matching up against Oregon, then whatever other Big Ten team that made it to that Big Ten championship, you now bear the responsibility of not letting a first-year team come into the conference and win. And I know Oregon beat us. I get it. They beat us in the regular season. They could say, Ohio State, y'all could have nipped that in the bud by beating them in the regular season. 100%. We made it to the last line of defense as far as a conference of an original Big Ten team playing in the Big Ten championship to stop Oregon from coming in first year and winning while they put a dunk in the press conference. You remember all that coming into last year, Jeff?
Oh, boy.
And so now, what more motivation do you need? You don't win these type of games. Your coach never wins these type of games. Dan Lanning is the next up-and-coming guy. I mean, he's going to be the type of guy, as long as he's at Oregon, his name is always going to come up in the next hottest job in college football.
I think Lanning's absolutely – Lanning's going to win a national championship at Oregon. He's awesome.
He's a dude.
And they got the money. I mean, I'm saying they got the resource. Like, no, or I'd say this: if Lanning goes to Ohio State, he'll also win a national championship.
Like Lanning has everything that Ryan Day has in order, and that got Ryan Day a national championship. Like, I got the resources in this new climate. You can say what you want. Well, you bought you have to pay players now. So, hey, Ohio State does it with the best of them. Oregon does it with the best of them. Alabama's trying to keep up with the Ohio States, the Oregons, the teams up north that can spend $10 million on a quarterback in order to get them there. Like, that Midwest money has showed you. What showed you is Texas and Midwest money is different since the NIL era, because those are the biggest spenders. And then Oregon comes along because they're backed by Phil Knight. And the only thing he wants to do before he dies is see Oregon win the national championship. That's pretty much it. That's probably what he's got left living for. And I think Oregon, they win these type of games. I trust Dan Lanning in these type of games. I think Dante Moore is a better quarterback than Drew Allard. The scariest thing about Penn State has been the scariest thing about Penn State since James Franklin has been there. And it's the fact that you can run the ball. But the least scariest thing about Penn State to me is the same thing that's been the least scariest thing about them. if I go and put 8 in the box and stop your run, your quarterback's not going to beat me. And the only time they get to hold that, Trace McSorley got a dub against Ohio State. And they've been living off that major win as a pinpoint of why they might win this game. Jeff, Trace McSorley is like 5 years into the Canadian Football League or something. I don't even know. He was a backup for a little bit. That was in like 2016, Jeff. That's like the last time Penn State has really had a major win. They've been
and
lose to Michigan and Ohio State.
And Ohio State went to the playoffs that year, not Penn State.
And Ohio State has been penciled. And then Penn State goes, wins they go win the Big Ten that year. And what they do? Take a dookie in Southern California and lose the USC in the Rose Bowl. Like, that's what they did. Went and beat Ohio State, went and won the Big Ten, was mad that we made it and they didn't, and then they went and lost their Rose Bowl game. And they have no excuse. Saquon Barkley and everybody played in that game. They played their starters. Their NFL draft players did not sit.
Wait a minute, didn't Penn State get housed by Ole Miss a couple years ago?
Yeah, because I remember
they
Walker
sure did.
Yep. And like ever since then, Walker bought into Walker was a guy he bought into Penn State after they boat raced Penn State. He was like, man, Penn State is a good team from here on out. He been kind of buying them into the Big Ten. But I'm just saying that at this point for this game, there's no excuses for one coach. To me, there's no pressure on the other coach on the Oregon sideline. We're coming from
they're
Oregon, on the road.
Oregon
This game, I still might end up in the Big Ten championship.
I will
James Franklin, if he loses this game, he won't.
The one thing I'll say is whoever wins this game is in the playoffs because they're not, I mean, it doesn't matter what combination of games they might lose the rest of the way. So whoever wins this is in great shape. Oregon loses, it's not the end of the world. They're really good, great schedule. But I will say that like this would be the game that Penn State would be like, finally. You know what I mean? As a fan, whatever, you'd be like, finally.
Hype is going to go crazy. If Drew Allar has a really good game and James Franklin and Penn State win this game.
And if that happens, though, Penn State might be really good. Like
but they could be. But it's just the hype is going to be absolutely.
But you know what they can't do is lose. They can't lose this game.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, it's painted for you, like, at this point, because here's the thing, Jeff, we've literally – until last year, as a fan base, you know me, I was on one side of it, but as a fan base, we were literally ready to get rid of Ryan Day. As a fan base, there was a big side of the fan base that's like Ryan Day's numbers in Ohio State are numbered. And like, he wasn't doing anything but like making the playoffs. He just wasn't beating Michigan. One game every year was about to get like Ryan Day was on the point of his back against the wall going into this playoff race. And then you asked him, to basically save his job, he had to beat Tennessee, he had to beat Texas, and he had to beat Notre Dame. Like, that's what he had to do to save his job, is he had Tennessee, Texas, Oregon, and Notre Dame. He had to beat all of those teams in the playoffs in order to make sure that we were fully secure with Ryan Day being the Ohio State coach for the future. And like we said, if you win the national championship at Ohio State, you'll be signed for a lifetime contract. Ryan Day won a national championship, contract extension immediately on the table for another 5 to 6 years. But we were ready to get rid of him. James Franklin has been losing these games, 2 to 3 of these games every year since he's been here. Penn State, do they even have, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. And if this gets clipped up, a Penn State fan could, do they have an undefeated season under James Franklin?
No.
Have they gone 12-0?
No,
at all.
No.
Like, even they haven't gone 12-0. They haven't won the Big Ten. Like, they won the Big Ten that 1 year and then lost to USC in the Rose Bowl. So they went to the playoffs. Then they ended up losing. They made it to the Final Four. So even last year, like, if you're a team that I made it to the Final Four and then I bring everybody back, the expectation is like basically Final Four bust, make it to the national championship or bust. You always supposed to go step up next year when you don't lose 10 players on defense, 5 players, 6 players on offense, however it may be. It's a step up. We're supposed to progress. And you've already seen Notre Dame regress. They went from playing in the national championship. They already got 2 losses, 3 games into their season. They're sitting at 1-2. Penn State has to win this game to make a case that they are one of the national title contenders, because that was the expectation for them coming into the season based on the end result last year and what they brought back. You have to win this game.
They have to win this game.
They have to win this game.
So, real quick, then you can move on to your next one. Who are you picking to win the game?
Oregon.
And I'm taking Oregon.
And I hate Penn State, by the way, too. So
I despise them.
Yeah, it's a hate pick as well.
Yeah, I wish they would go back to being independent. You don't even remember those years. You literally weren't born.
Yeah, Penn State's been in the Big Ten. Penn State was in the Big Ten, I think.
It was like
I
91.
was born in 95, so
yeah, it was before your time. 95, Penn State was undefeated, by the way.
But under James Franklin, they haven't gone undefeated.
It was not James Franklin.
They don't have one of those seasons. They're more likely, you can almost pencil Penn State in to be 10-2. And once the playoff expanded to 12 teams, now you basically were like, we could pencil Penn State in being 10-2 and making the playoffs. Yeah. That was now their goal of their type of team, but they come into this season being national title contenders because I think they overachieved last year with an easier road in the playoffs. I think because of the road that they had in the playoffs, them reaching the Final Four and losing to Notre Dame, to me, would have been like, man, we're not where we're supposed to be, because we were supposed to be here if we were any type of team that we said we were coming into these playoffs. And then we lose to Notre Dame in the fashion that we lose to. Like you said, didn't complete a pass to a wide receiver, but
there's different standards. Yeah, I was out when Notre Dame got within a couple touchdowns of Ohio State last year. I was out on the whole season at that point. Like, Penn State fans just have different standards.
Yeah, and that's what it is. Is like the standard is different.
Yeah, and I'm glad they don't have them.
And that's cool. Like, everybody can't be in Ohio. Everybody's not an Ohio State fan. Everybody's not, a Kansas City Chiefs fan in the NFL that has Patrick Mahomes. And so you got these lofty, like, we're Super Bowl or bust over here. Y'all are grateful to make the playoffs. We're Super Bowl or bust. Like, that's what Ohio State, like, over here. And you could tell me, because it's like every 10 years we win a national championship. So for the most part, them years in between national championship years were bust years, in the sense if you ask majority of Ohio State fans. So the standard is national championship or bust. Y'all are like, hopefully we beat one of that team up north.
Hopefully we split Ohio State, Michigan. You're right.
Yeah, literally. And now that you've added Oregon into this conference, to me, Oregon came in and was the most talented team in the Big Ten outside of Ohio State. They immediately came in and was the team, to me, that challenged Ohio State to battle for the Big Ten. And what did they do? They beat Ohio State in the regular season, and they went on the Big Ten championship. They paid for it now in the playoffs, but still, they did what I thought they had the ability to do coming into the conference. They were the immediate threat, and they beat us by 1 point to say we are the immediate threat. Nobody else is going to play y'all like this. And then, yes, we end up losing, to the team up north. I get it. But at the same time, like, that's a different, that just comes with a different case. I think all the pressure, like I said, I would just keep saying all the pressure's on Penn State. James Franklin has to win this game. And I don't think James Franklin will win this game. And if I'm a Penn State fan, at some point I'll be like, bro, he got to go. Damn the next recruiting class. I don't care what he's going to do in the transfer portal. I don't care if y'all about to throw $100 million at this roster.
Even though he's got a tall white quarterback, you're not in.
No, because that tall white quarterback is not Josh Allen. He is not Josh Allen. He has never been Josh Allen. If he was Josh Allen, he wouldn't be playing this year. He'd be in the NFL. If he was the next Josh Allen, he would have came out and been draft ready last year. Coming off a Final Four win. If I'm the next Josh Allen, no way I'll make it to the Final Four of the playoffs and I'm not entering the NFL draft.
Is Drew Aller the next Arch Manning? That's the question for next week's show. I'm just messing with you. All right. How do you feel about USC Illinois? I know you don't have a ton of time left, but like,
we got time. When it comes to USC Illinois, I think this is, everybody didn't stay up late at night to see them put on a show against a Michigan State team that I think is fairly decent. Like, they got Michigan State is one of those teams that can upset you if you don't come and play the right way.
You think Michigan State's going to be able to keep their quarterback? I think he's good. Is he good?
Yeah, he's still there.
But you think?
Yeah, this is second year there. They kept him for another year. I think keep him. I think so, as long as they keep their head coach. But at the same time, if he has enough good showings, money talks. Somebody can get desperate.
I feel like he's pretty good, and I just don't know if they can put enough around him to.
Somebody throw $3 million at him. But like USC right now is, to me, I think, they're what, 24? I think they're one of the better teams in the country.
They're really good.
I think USC is closer to top 10 to 15. In that 10 to 15 range than they are closer to.
I don't know why why are they? I know I'm interrupting you here, but like, why are they making USC earn their ranking so hard?
They're making Lincoln Riley earn his ranking.
Is that what it is?
I think so, because Lincoln Riley essentially
he got burned on the Caleb Williams year.
Yeah, like a guy like Lincoln Riley coming into USC. The expectation wasn't necessarily national championship or bust, but it was just like Oklahoma. Like, you could almost pencil Oklahoma in as a team in the 14 playoffs damn near. Like they were going to be right there at the end. As long as they did their job and beat Texas, Oklahoma was probably going to the playoffs that year under Lincoln Riley with a high explosive offense, some good running backs, and a Heisman winning quarterback. And so, like, the thing was, they had nowhere near as much success with Caleb Williams. And so you start to doubt Lincoln Riley. And then even with this Maeva kid, who's really good. Don't get me wrong. Like, we talk about some of the better quarterbacks. I
like him a lot.
This kid has been very impressive. But at the same time, like, we've seen this story before, and we've seen what it resulted the past 2 years with Caleb Williams. So you got to earn it. A big-time win against Michigan State when y'all playing at home, late night, blah, 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 a whole lot of factors. Probably just wasn't impressive enough to them. But at some point, like, because here's the thing, what doesn't help USC's case for this game is that Illinois got the doors blown off of them by Indiana. Even if Indiana's really good, Illinois just is coming off a blowout loss. So even I think USC got the potential to blow out Illinois on the road. Yeah. So now you're talking about trying to prove to everybody that I'm one of the better teams in the country, but I just beat a team that's now on back-to-back blowout losses against two of the better Big Ten teams in the country. But USC has to win this game. I think USC is going to win this game. I think Lincoln Riley is going to continue to have this USC team look good. I think this team is pretty damn good, and I look at their schedule, and I think they got a possibility of finding themselves, of being a team that finds themselves in the Big Ten championship, because they don't match up against all them other teams that's going to have to play each other.
They got a really nice schedule, and they'll get a lot of credit if they can beat Michigan. I mean, you beat a brand, you get credit for it. Michigan's a good team. I'm not saying that, but like you get more, just like we're talking about LSU and Clemson. It has nothing to do with how good Clemson is. Everything to do with the helmet logo, and USC will get a lot of credit. And then they got Oregon. I mean, they're going to get their shot. No matter what, Oregon's going to be good. I don't care if they lose to Penn State or not. By the time USC plays them, like, it's still going to mean something. Oregon's not fading away.
But so USC don't have – they next 4 weeks ain't easy. If you really like –
no, they got
Illinois on the road. Then they got a bye week. Then they got Michigan at home. Then they go on the road and play Notre Dame. Then they go on the road and play Nebraska. And we can say, and we can say whatever we want. Okay, well, that Nebraska game isn't necessarily the same as we thought, but Nebraska is still a good team. Like they're a team that can upset a USC that comes into that game. If USC come off of beating Illinois, Michigan, and Notre Dame, you find yourself upset alert looking past, because then you got Northwestern the week after that. They're going to blow the doors off of Northwestern. Then you got Iowa. Feel like you're going to blow the door. So you start looking a month away almost to the Oregon game after you come out of that 4-game stretch. And Nebraska and Dylan Raiola come and catch you off guard and have a really good game. So, I mean, that's what USC has to look ahead
to.
But
I will say USC has it all, like, they have it set up. They have it all in front of them. Like if they only lose 2 games in this schedule, that means they're going to beat a lot of big brands, a lot of good teams.
And one of those games is the Notre Dame game, Jeff. They could find themselves still. They could be 10-2 in the Big Ten championship, because remember that's what
I'm saying. Yeah, USC. I like their team and they're in great shape. What other games you got on there? I know you got some you got circled there.
You got Tennessee. Well, we didn't talk about the last, like, real quick impact game. Bama, Georgia. We can't talk about Bama, Georgia.
Never heard of them.
Bama versus Georgia. I mean, you could break down the game the way you want to. Like, we could break it down the way we want to. I think this is a tough spot for Georgia, because I think you're in a can't lose. But at the same time, Alabama loses this game to Florida State, then wins 73-0 against UL Monroe. I get it. I know it's Louisiana Monroe, but coming off of a 2-touchdown loss to Florida State, I'm not saying they would have lost that game, but that could have been like a season ender in a sense, and they could have came out not motivated. Then they come out, and anybody that watched Wisconsin go into Tuscaloosa and get the doors blown off of them, they look.
Bama looks good.
Like, so Bama looks revived, which is why a number 5 Georgia that you'll say is one of the better teams in the country. And I agree. I do think they're one of the better teams in the country, but they're only favored in this game at home by 3.5, because sometimes looking at the names of the teams, we know they're going to be, it's early in the season. You're going to play these Louisiana Monroes, but it's how you look. Like, yes, I know you're 50 points better than Louisiana Monroe, but when you win 73-0, like, that's what some of the better teams in the country do. That's what some of those teams that tell us they're as good as we say they are, they win those games 73-0. Like Ohio State won 70-0 against Grambling. Like, when you're trying to convince people that, yeah, we're one of the best teams in the country, but we play this scrap schedule early on to get these other schools a couple $1 million to be able to play them on national TV. You have to play it, because if Alabama only won that game 14-7, everybody's crapping on Alabama for struggling with Louisiana Monroe. If they only won the game 21-14 against Wisconsin, everybody's killing Alabama. They have no shot against Georgia. But since they've looked the part and looked like they're trying to bounce back, I think Georgia don't even necessarily have to win this game when you talk about resume because they beat Tennessee. So they do already have a very solid win. I think Tennessee's a very good team. But with Alabama, like, they're not favored in this game. They're the underdog. And so to me, the coach, you're in the toughest position to be. Kalen DeBoer is in the toughest position to be going into the game as an underdog. Because if you're an underdog and people are telling you, like, I really like Georgia to win this game on the road, and you feel like people are looking at you like this might be a must-win game, to make us believe in Kalen DeBoer, because even though we're looking better, this is the game that we're pinpointing to say maybe that Florida State game was an anomaly, while also everybody having to admit that Florida State is a lot better than we thought coming into the season and we were all wrong. Like, that's the situation that you're in. And so I hate it for Kalen DeBoer, because if he loses this game, especially if he loses by double digits, it's right back to like, man, we want Saban back. Saban needs to come out of retirement. Kalen DeBoer got to go, and we're going to see how much it costs to, we're going to know his buyout again. Like, we're going to revisit how much it costs to get Kalen DeBoer up out of Tuscaloosa.
I do sort of get that, because as someone that lived through the John Cooper years, sometimes you just know when you know. And we knew right away that John Cooper was never going to reach the mountaintop. And if you feel that way, don't drag it. Don't drag it out. Like, if this Georgia team's just good. It's not one of the great Georgia teams. And if you're Alabama, and especially it's how you lose it. If you get handled and you look like you got outcoached and outplayed, then you're like, the writing's on the wall. I mean, I'm not saying that it can't ever fix it, but I do get people saying, like, it's time to cut bait. Like, we know what it looks like, when it's good. And this ain't it. So this game, I think this is important though to Smart, because I think they handed the SEC to Texas. They just handed it to them this year and was like, they're winning the SEC. Nobody's going to stop them. And then poor old Georgia kind of limped out of the playoffs, quarterback down. LSU at the beginning of the season, we already talked about, like, well, that's the best team in the country. So now Texas and LSU have already jumped Georgia in everybody's mind by week 2, and Texas ain't even won a game. And so I think Kirby, I think he would like to win this and look good. I think he would like to, if he wins this by 10 points and it's like, hey, let calm down, everybody. Like, you still got to go through Georgia to get there. I think that stuff matters though, because in college football, it still matters, because you still have to talk a 15-year-old into committing to your school. You have to talk 17-year-olds into committing to your school. So I think stuff like that, everything we said about Franklin is what Kirby wants to avoid. Like, you don't want to fall down into I hope we make the playoffs. Like, Kirby wants to be like, no, he established something in those colossal years at Georgia. And again, last year, he was in the playoffs. It was a quarterback down. Like, we don't know what would have happened if he has a quarterback. They probably win. I'm not saying they win at all, but so I think that it's kind of important to just status that Kirby wins this. And DeBoer, you already got a loss, and it may not wind up being, we don't know how your loss is going to wind up being by the end of the year. So I think you just want to win, because you just need to win football games, because you're on a tight road. So great game.
And then, I can't wait. And what sucks about that game is it's a night game on at the same time as Penn State, Oregon. So that's what sucks about college. What sucks about college football, Jeff, is the fact that, here's the thing. Not too many times. And my prime example, I looked at the NFL slate on Sunday, right? Mm-hmm. Just to see, this type of Saturday, what does the NFL follow it up with? Jeff, in the grand scheme of things, there's really, at each time slot, there's really only one game worth watching.
Yeah.
Where college football, Jeff, just to make the point, because I tell everybody college football is better than the NFL when it talks about the entertainment factor.
Oh, yeah.
College football this weekend. Friday night, Florida State goes on the road, undefeated, number 8, to play Virginia, who's 3-1. While also on Friday night, Jeff, you got TCU going on the road to play Arizona State on this Friday night for college football, Jeff. You got TCU, a ranked TCU, coming off a big win against SMU to beat an Arizona State that's trying to turn their season around after losing to a Mississippi State, which goes to another Saturday game. Tennessee goes on the road to play Mississippi State. Tennessee had a tough loss a couple weeks ago against Georgia. They had an opportunity to win that game. I think Tennessee is a playoff type team. I think they're better than
State's been scoring some points.
And that's what I say. Mississippi State is, see, we wrote them off like we wrote Florida State off. And the thing is, Mississippi State ain't really been relevant in any point in time lately in the national conversation as far as being a national title contender, where Florida State has. You know, they went to they made the college football playoffs. The first year it was a playoff. Like, they've been in the ACC conversations. Like, they find themselves relevant. You know, they went undefeated and missed the playoffs because their quarterback got hurt. Yeah. Like, probably in the past 10 years, though, that's probably one of the most memorable moments is the fact that an undefeated Florida State team didn't go to the playoffs because their quarterback got hurt. But, like, those are the type of games that you, like I said, you got Tennessee going on the road against Mississippi State. Mississippi State won 2 games last year. They're sitting at 4-0, hosting Tennessee. And a team like this is where the SEC fans go crazy. And this is where part of their right is a team like Mississippi State. That environment is absolutely insane to go on the road and play in. When those cowbells get to ringing and it gets really loud, like, that is a tough environment to play. And Tennessee understands that, and they know that. And they're better than we thought with Joey Aguilar. But that to have to prove out he's going to be the good Mississippi State team on the road is not easy.
And Tennessee's got flaws. And these are both goalpost teams. And what I mean by that is they're both not good enough to not tear down goalposts. So, like, Mississippi State would consider this a giant victory. You know what I mean? Like, they're kind of on the same thing as, like, it's been a minute since we won something giant. So we will take a regular season victory. It means a lot. So, like, you know, Mississippi State has got everything to play for, but Tennessee's, like you said about Ohio State going to Washington, is a little different. Tennessee's not so good that they can't get upset, you know, in Starkville. So I that's a game that I'm like, I see every potential. That's a real
Texas A&M on upset alert. While we talking about everybody on
I think Texas A&M is the only thing that keeps me from just picking Auburn is because of how beat up they got fighting Oklahoma last week, which was a great game, but that stuff literally physically just wears on you. But I tell you what, I have a lot of respect for Auburn if they can come back. But Texas A&M, like, again, another one, they can get got, like, easily. Auburn's a pretty good team. I think they made a lot of mistakes last week, and, you know, probably could have been closer. But yeah, I mean, so here's the thing: we're gonna wake up Sunday morning, and we're going to be talking about 3 to 4 games that we're like, wow, I didn't see that coming out of nowhere. And that's just out of the top 25. We're not even talking about, like, you know, some of these other games that are going to be huge. Like, honestly, just like you talked about, 10-15 Saturday night, Colorado BYU, I'm interested because Colorado's been playing a lot better. BYU's been playing really good.
G5
I could see Colorado beat them.
Big 12 BYU, you know, that Big 12 possible to match Texas Tech. Like,
yes,
this could be their statement. Go out there, blow out Colorado on the late night for all us sickos watching college football on the Saturday night midnight because you got nothing else to do. Like myself, I'll be watching that game. Trust and believe me. Yes. But that's one of those, you know, BYU could be now a contender in the Big 12. Then you got like a team like that college football people care about, like Arizona, who's looking fairly decent, is coming in to play Iowa State. Like, is Iowa State on upset alert? They got to be careful playing that kind of game. Like, their quarterback, Arizona's quarterback.
Iowa State, I had them rolling through the season. I'm like, you know, took a step back.
And they could go out there and beat the doors, blow the doors off of Arizona. But, like, coming into that game, you'll turn that game on to see what's happening. Let me see. That'll be like, that's one of those, you know, what I call fourth quarter games, Jeff, where, like, you're paying attention on the ESPN app or however you check the scores. And then when it comes to about that 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter, if that game is still tight, you're going to find yourself watching Arizona versus Iowa State. Yes. No matter who's on TV at that point, if there's another great game, but the one team's up 10, 14 points, and you're praying on a comeback on the other side, you're going to turn on in this fourth quarter and Arizona, Iowa State tied 31-31 with 8 minutes left. You're going to finish watching that game.
I can't wait.
Like, it's not too late of a game either where you're like, man, I just went to sleep instead of catching it. Like, that's a fourth quarter game. You constantly paying attention. You constantly getting updates. Then they got 2 quarterbacks that ESPN will actually throw in there, you know, as far as updates on how they're playing in that game. And next thing you know, 8 minutes left to go, and you find yourself watching the end of the Arizona-Iowa State game.
I'm telling you. Bottom line is, Mo, one of the great college football Saturday schedules ever. And what I like about it is there's not going to be a lot of letdowns because there's so many even games that it doesn't matter how it goes. Somebody's going to lose, somebody's going to win. The point differential is not important. That's what this is, a perfect college football Saturday as far as like there's so much to talk about come Sunday. Hopefully you'll invite me on the show and we'll talk about it. Even though I'll be at the zoo with my grandson, it's going to be awesome. Taking him to the Columbus Zoo, one of the great places on earth, Sunday. Man, I thank you so much for coming on. Everybody, that's Coach Mo Murphy. Follow him on X, Instagram. He dedicates a lot of time. And he's always kind enough to, come on the show. Mo, that was great, man.
Yeah.
I appreciate having you on. Love talking ball with you. Everybody have a great week. Have a great weekend. We'll be back soon. This ain't over.
No, it's not. We got a long season ahead of us.